Hot take. Your RAG system can retrieve the right chunk and still give the wrong answer.
Yes, because retrieval is not the finish line. After retrieval, metadata decides whether the model trusts, filters, ranks, cites, or even understands what it found.
So, this is not just about embeddings and top K.
Not even close. If your chunks arrive without useful metadata, the model gets text with no context about source, time, permissions, version, entity, or document structure. That is where good demos turn into bad products.
Give me a real failure, not a theory.
Picture an internal support bot. It retrieves a chunk about refund policy. The text is relevant, but the metadata does not say it came from an archived handbook from last year. The current policy changed last month. Retrieval looks fine. The answer is wrong. Support escalates. Trust drops.
That is nasty, because the logs might still show a semantic match, and everyone thinks retrieval worked.
Exactly. Metadata matters after retrieval because the next steps depend on it. Re-rankers use it, prompt builders use it, citation layers use it, access control uses it. Humans debugging the system definitely use it.
So, where does this show up first in a real stack?
Usually in 3 places. 1. Bad answer selection. The model uses stale or low authority chunks. 2. Bad synthesis. It merges chunks from different products, tenants, or document versions. 3. Bad traceability. You cannot tell why the answer happened, so fixes become guessing.
Let's make that concrete.
Say you built a sales assistant over product docs. A user asks whether feature X supports SSO. Retrieval returns a release note for the cloud version and a setup guide for the self-hosted version. The text overlap is strong, but the metadata that distinguishes deployment type is missing or ignored. The model blends them and confidently answers for the wrong product.
And now, sales says yes, legal says no, and your bot just created a live fire exercise.
Right. The winner is not the system with the highest retrieval score on a benchmark. The winner is the system that can separate near matches by context when money, compliance, and customer promises are on the line.
Before people start tweaking chunk size or swapping vector databases, what should they inspect first?
Inspect the retrieved records exactly as the generation layer sees them. Not the source files, not the index config in your head, the actual payload. Look for document ID, title, section path, timestamp, version, authoritativeness, tenant or product boundary, access label, and source URL or citation handle.
So basically, stop asking, did I retrieve text? And start asking, what came attached to that text?
Yes. Then inspect whether that metadata survives every hop. Ingestion, chunking, indexing, retrieval, re-ranking, prompt assembly. Teams often have metadata at ingest, then lose half of it when they split documents into chunks or flatten records for the prompt.
I have seen that. Beautiful source metadata upstream, then a prompt that says only, quote, chunk, score.
And then people wonder why the model cannot prefer the official policy page over a random meeting note. If authority is not represented, the model has to infer it from prose, and that is unreliable.
Give me one practical example of fixing this without turning it into a giant rewrite.
Take a docs assistant that keeps answering from changelogs instead of canonical docs. Add 2 metadata fields to each chunk, doc type and effective date. Mark canonical pages as doc type equals policy or guide, changelogs as release note, and carry the latest effective date. After retrieval, filter out expired chunks. Then prefer policy and guide over release note during re-ranking or prompt ordering.
So, the text embeddings still do the recall, but metadata shapes the final decision.
Exactly. Another small win is section metadata. If a chunk says it came from terms of service, billing, exceptions, subsection 4.2, the model can answer with tighter scope and better citations than if it just sees a paragraph floating in space.
What are the warning signs that metadata is the real problem?
Answers that are plausible but from the wrong version. Answers that mix 2 customers or 2 products. Citations that point to a page but not the right section. Prompts bloated with mere duplicate chunks because nothing groups them by document or section. And debugging sessions where engineers argue about relevance because there is no provenance.
That last one matters. Without provenance, the loudest opinion wins.
Yes, and that is expensive. Metadata turns debugging from intuition into inspection. You can see whether the model chose a stale source, crossed a boundary, missed a priority rule, or never received the fields you thought it had.
So, if I am building RAG today, the strategic move is to treat metadata like product logic, not garnish.
That is the shift. Retrieval finds candidates. Metadata decides which candidates deserve influence. If you ignore that, your system stays brittle, no matter how smart the model looks.
And the consequence is simple. Teams that manage metadata ship assistance people trust, and teams that do not ship autocomplete with liability.
Exactly. In RAG, the text gets you in the room. Metadata decides who gets the microphone.